Hey, everybody. It's time for another NFL in London podcast. It's Wade and Ryan here on video. You can see us now.
Finally.
You're back from vacation. How was the heatness of Spain?
You know what? It was actually the coolest it's ever been. It was like 26 degrees and cloudy for like 4 days. It butchered the pools. Like literally one
Oh,
day
wow.
of the pools are beautiful. One day of 26 degrees, it's like an iceberg hit your pool and the water just felt freezing and nothing was enjoyable anymore. So it was like 2 days too long. But luckily I had a little I just followed the NFL training camps religiously. So I am all caught up. I did not slouch on my NFL watching while I was gone.
I mean, it's an exciting time. One, because it's if you're a parent, your kids are going back to school, so you get rid of them. But two, the NFL coming up. And I mean, this is really the first week. We had the Hall of Fame game. Now we're stuck into this is first week of preseason. We're going to see Shadur. And we're going to go through some of the NFL news. But how are you feeling now? Because, I mean, we've got some of the games lined up, preseason games, which you can watch. We've got on Thursday, Colts, Ravens. We've got Bengals and Eagles. And we've got Raiders and Seahawks. And then a whole bunch this weekend. Bills are playing on Saturday against the Giants. And then the Bears are playing the Dolphins on Sunday afternoon.
I did try and place some bets last week on the Chargers on the game, but there were no odds in the British books. Didn't even put them on there. But I literally went to look it up. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pick a little Trey. I was gonna do some Trey Lance overs. I think it would have hit.
Yeah.
I had like Dicker the kicker plus. I'm just going kicker overs all throughout the preseason. They need their kicker's always going to play 4 quarters. They're going to get their practice. Sure. So I feel like kicker overs. But unfortunately, the UK does not allow us to partake in preseason.
Is it because
gambling,
you were in
which,
Spain?
To be fair,
do you think?
Is probably a good thing. No, I tried it when I got back home. I tried when I got back home. Yeah, it was unfortunate. But it's probably for the best, to be honest.
I mean, we did talk. Are you going to be, because I've looked at now, like, because we were talking about when we did our who's going to finish in top of each division. Are you still looking at maybe doing picks in that way and maybe making some?
I pretty much have what I think I'm going to go with. I think I'm going to go 4-game parlay. I'm going to go Browns under. Going Browns under. I'm going Saints under. I'm going to pick. Just be hating. Nice. Do some hating all year. Just do some hating. I'm really high on going. I'm picking under. Really high on potentially going Miami under as well, and maybe a Falcons over. I think something like that. I feel like they're going to have a little bit of juice, a little bit of offense. Bijan in his 3rd year now. I can see him finally just kind of breaking out. So I'm kind of excited to see them. So that might be my 4-way little parlay. And then by week 3, when Atlanta's 0-3, I'm going to be furious. And Pitts is injured because I picked him in fantasy for the 5th time in a row.
Are you going, because we talked about this as well, are you going to do divisional winners? Like, are you going to choose a winner from each division and maybe throw a little cheeky bet on that?
I feel like I don't even know if you would get that good of odds, right? Like if you picked Buffalo, Philly, Detroit and San Francisco, I don't even know what the odds would be. I don't think it would be that high. But a little upset, I think I would go. If I was ever going to do an upset, I think I would go in the AFC South and maybe take someone like, an Indy who just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Sure.
They probably got some bad odds. There's definitely some, I think, just kind of, if everything goes right, teams that are kind of getting hated on that you can kind of bounce back. So I'm excited to gamble. I'm probably going to be looking into maybe even going into some like sites that give you some real like paid tips. Try a little trial one for a month. See what the pros say. Instead of my old gut, which unfortunately is not paying the bills, my gut. But
that's too bad when your body parts actually don't serve your purpose. Except if you pull them out and sell them. The weird thing is too, because I'm back in Canada for a little bit, moving back to the UK just to like deal with some stuff. But none of my betting apps work here. And I mean, we know because we used to do DraftKings last year, and of course DraftKings is no longer in the UK, so we can't do like weekly fantasy. But they are like, it's just BetMGM all over the place here. So I'm probably gonna have to download some more apps and do some cheeky bets. But we'll see. We'll VPN. We'll do the VPN still. The VPN doesn't even work that well. Our friend Andre was showing me that you've got to do a double country VPN. That's how he was getting DAZN to work when he traveled. because we might as well talk about that. I mean, let's get into it. That the NFL has bought the ESPN or NFL has bought a 10% stake, or ESPN has taken over. NFL is part owner of ESPN, part of Disney, all this kind of Marvel, maybe, who knows. But so ESPN is now going to absorb the NFL app, and Red Zone is going to be part of ESPN. The programs that were on the NFL Network, ESPN is going to put them into a $29.99 per month package. But we were just mentioning just before we recorded this podcast that we were going to get rid of the NFL app anyway. It was such dog crap, and maybe that's why they knew it. Because ESPN app is better. We were going to go to Sleeper, but now it looks like if everything's going to migrate, because it's got all our history and everything in it, going back a decade, to keep the ESPN app. How do you feel? It's just like collusion of everything.
I don't love that ESPN bought. I say enjoy your last year of commercial-free Red Zone, because this is going to be the last one. They're probably going to fire Scott Hansen after this year and replace it with God knows who, probably Cam Newton in his hat, his array of hats. They're going to make it worse. Whenever there's no competition, it always gets worse. It's everyone's kind of gone there. And if it's just all hot takes and this and that, I fear for what is going to happen. The NFL Network has already been slowly, like, they've been selling it for parts for a while. Like Good Morning Football used to be fantastic when Kay Adams and Nate Burleson at his Peter Schrager at its peak. It was fantastic. I used to watch it every single morning, and then it just slowly trailed off as they kind of let all their talent go and everyone. And then where are you going to go? There's only really FS1 or ESPN. So it's just, it feels like, as a Canadian with Rogers and Bell, it feels like you're in that kind of monopoly situation where I fear that everyone just going to the, and we're going to see how much Stephen A. Smith are we going to get, especially with him trying to be president of the United States. He's going to be on every single NFL show. You know that. And it's going to be, I play a game with my wife, and I put on First Take and I turn it up and I time it to see how long until she tells me to turn it off. And it's usually within about
Stephen A. Rodeo.
The Stephen A. Rodeo. Yeah, that's what we play. And it's usually within 10 seconds. Like, what the fuck are you listening to? So it's a fun game. I recommend everyone play it.
I guess Shannon Sharp won't be back. He's being carved out by lawsuits. Shay is going to have to pay. It is interesting just to see what ESPN is going to do with it, because they do have a habit of just turning good stuff into garbage. I mean, the app, as we talked about, the app is a pretty good app. I preferred it because the NFL app was just getting garbage in a way. But then, everything is being pushed into, you've got to buy a subscription for something now. In the UK, obviously with Game Pass or DAZN, which we all had our issues with for the past few years, although it wasn't as bad as the original Game Pass was in year one. I like the fact that I used to be able to take it and travel, and I could put a VPN on, but that stopped doing it.
Sucks if you go to Canada and you don't have it. You have DAZN, but you can't use it. You need Canadian DAZN. It's ridiculous. It should work wherever you need it. Some people travel. It should,
exactly.
And I don't see why it matters to you. Imagine giving people, making a product people actually want to use. It's just, instead of just constantly just gouging at them. And it's just,
there's no money in that.
Again, even when I think I read something that Hard Knocks isn't even going to be on it until after the Super Bowl.
It's not, that's what they're saying, yeah.
It's like, who wants to watch a training camp documentary after the Super Bowl? So it doesn't make sense. I have already downloaded it, so I have it ready to go for tonight, the first episode. I'm very excited. This is going to be the first time I've been excited for Hard Knocks for a while, to be honest with you. So
I watched it last night. It was on at 9:00, but that's past my bedtime. So I started watching some of it, and I was falling asleep. And of course, my girlfriend's like, "What is this? We should put on a movie." I'm like, "Shh." Get ready for fall.
This is the good
This is all the stuff. Sundays are not our fun days anymore. They're my fun days. And you can sit upstairs. But no, it was just, it's stupid that they're doing that. And my thing too is, once I was on a plane and I had what was Game Pass, and I paid for the Wi-Fi. I was on BA flying back to North America, and I put on Game Pass, and there was I'm literally watching on my iPad, and I get tap on the shoulder. It's like there was a seat beside, and the guy's like, "Can I listen? Can I watch?" Because I had Red Zone on. The guy's like, "Yeah." and the plane was pretty empty because it was over the holidays. And pretty soon there were 6 guys all
Yeah,
sitting around my iPad. I put a little
of
speaker up.
course.
The staff was fine. All these guys standing around watching Red Zone with me. And some of these
That's
guys didn't even
amazing.
have Red Zone. They were like, "Oh, we don't never get Red Zone in Canada." And so all these guys are sitting around, and occasionally a wife would come up. It's like, "Are you going to come back and sit with the kids?" It's like, "No, no, no, we're watching the game."
Yeah, no.
I think I broke up a
Go
few
get, yeah.
marriages that.
I gotta buy a round. It's my round. It's my round. So
Yeah,
unfortunately,
exactly. Even though it's free alcohol on those flights. So, but it's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens. And I said we were quick. We were going to move off to Sleeper. I've sort of registered with Sleeper, but I just wonder how quickly how
the
quickly they're
ESPN
going to
one's
absorb
great.
it.
It's great.
No, I know,
I've
but
used
it's
it for
also the
years.
history
So
of everything. Yeah. So I haven't seen anything on any of the any of the news or anything. Getting an email from NFL app saying that we've been taken over, but now, so today, AI is being banned, and by AI in the NFL, I mean ammonia inhalers. George
oh,
Kittle went off about it, smelling salts. So a lot of these guys would use it. He was like, sometimes you're feeling down, you do a little bump, and then you feel a lot better. So I mean,
where have I heard that before?
I've
Where
never heard of it. There was a yeah, I've never. There's a guy in the toilet
what
once
is
was saying
this?
if you
What is
just
this
do one
magic?
bump, I'm not even sure. It sounds like
Is it
some
like a
sort of
chemical
craven.
thing? Is it like a drug or is it what?
I think what they're saying is that it's sort of like banned substances or one of those enhancement substances. But for Kittle went off on a thing. And if you saw, he interrupted this interview, and he's like, "No, this is garbage, man. I use these a lot. Like this is actually a really big thing because for a lot of guys too, you get your bell rung, or you just maybe you get drilled in the solar plexus. It's just like, okay, yeah, I'm back. I'm back. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really get it, what they're sort of doing with it. But there's going to be some of the things that we're going to change that we're going to see because I don't know if you watched the Hall of Fame game because they're using the digital line now,
Yes,
right? I don't know if you
finally,
saw any of this.
finally. Yes,
Well,
I
I
did.
mean, then you're sort of like, sometimes it's like, I don't know, man. Like, you sort
This
of wonder because it should be maybe a combination of both. I don't know if you want to do it right away because as we've seen what happened with Wimbledon, where there was it takes one guy to screw it up, but losing by a pixel, that's where I think a lot of people are like, come on,
But
come on.
isn't it still based on where the umpire puts the ball anyway? So, even,
Yeah,
it's not like they're going to be able to
it's not
go
like
to
it's just going,
review
yeah,
and
digital.
they'll be able to overplay. Can they overturn the initial spot because they have more, like that play Josh Allen did in the AFC Championship where his body was kind of the other way and it looked like it went over the line, but then the umpires
Yeah,
came and just put it behind it. So is it like they would be able to see that, oh wait, it did go further than that? Or is it just you just don't want to pay those two guys holding the flags anymore?
yeah.
Just trimming costs because they got a big deal.
Well, always, yeah,
Damn
get
deal.
rid of them. Get a cheerleader to do it. You're not doing anything, and you only make $50 a game. Um, I don't really know. I mean, I think we're going to start seeing it probably this weekend when we see week 1 of the preseason, when we're going to start seeing, that's when the pundits are going to start going, this is a big failure, this being used, blah, blah, blah. Again, it all comes down to the technology, who's using it. But like anything, you start relying on AI to do stuff. You wonder what's going to really happen here. So it's going to be one of those things to sort of keep an eye on. Um, I don't, yeah, it's
We'll
just
see.
worrisome when we get the tech. Some of the big other news. I mean, so we'll go through some of the free agents, some of the injuries. I mean, Kyron Williams just signed 3 year, $33 million with the Rams. A lot of money, 3 years, 11 million a year. It seems like a lot of times a lot of the running backs were sort of you know sort of thrown away last year, discarded, if you will. And now it seems like okay, the running back is back.
Well,
Because
yeah, I
everyone was
think
going nuts for the wide receiver.
yeah, you saw what Henry did. You saw what Barkley did. And the fact that Kyron Williams has been great the last 2 years. He's proved it year after year. And I think it kind of sets the cost now for someone like James Cook, who was
Mm-hmm.
he was talking like he wants Saquon money. And it's like, dude, you're not getting 15,
Yeah,
20 million a year. You're just not, you don't even play third
yeah,
downs. So you can't be if you're not even a third down back, where Kyron Williams is a third down back, plays three downs. James Cook, if I'd be happy they gave him that contract. Let's just move on. So maybe now that contract now will now just make it easier for, because he is sitting, he's holding in camp, and he's not practicing the last, I think, 3 practices in a row. I'm sure we'll see it all in Hard Knocks. But it's fascinating to see. I think now this is just like, all right, we'll give you a little bit more than what Kyron Williams got, and let's just move on and end this. And hopefully that's the case. Because if not, it looks like the Bills really don't value him at even Kyron Williams' money.
Yeah, I mean, so then we talk about some of the other holdouts, because obviously guys used to hold out just to sort of, make a stance and to sort of be defiant. But then you realize, too, it's costing you money. When we look at Micah Parsons and you look at the deal, what's going on with Dallas, and just how it doesn't seem like they're being close to it. Jerry Jones is like, don't worry, we're going to work it out. Fans are booing, pay Micah, pay Micah. It seems acrimonious that he doesn't want to do it, but he said he'd show up. How do you see this whole situation? Because Dallas, we talked about this with Zared last week. Dallas and Jerry Jones always has this thing where he waits to the last minute. Like, oh, I'll do a deal. But sometimes it costs them more money. But this one seems like, man, it influences the rest of the team when you do this.
He's always like, I got him right where I want him. I'm playing, like it's what they say about Trump. It's like Trump's playing 5D chess while everyone else is playing pick'em sticks, and you're like, oh my god. That's what I think his inner circle is telling him. It's stupid. Yeah. It's like Michael Parsons is 26. He's been one of the best defensive players in the year. Just pay him. You're gonna have to pay him. Mm-hmm. You could have got him before Myles Garrett went to 40, and the fact that TJ Watt, who went over 40, he's also 5 years older than Micah Parsons. So you're going over 40. You kind of done it now, and it's just I think he's just worried about, like, if Dak is terrible and now he's just going to handcuff his team. But if I mean, you can't trade him. You would lose the whole fan base would just absolutely riot in the streets if you lose a guy like that. So it's stupid. They're gonna pay him, because I've fallen for this before. Like with Myles Garrett, he's like, trade me, and they're like, how about this much money? It's like, never mind. And I feel like it's gonna be like that. It's trade me here. How about you're the highest paid player? All right, great, let's move on. So I think it'll happen probably after week 1 or something, where Micah maybe even sits out 1 week, kind of like Chris Jones did a couple years ago. Yeah, and he got paid literally the next day.
What about then? Let's turn our back to Cincinnati with Hendrickson. And, again, this is something that hasn't been dealt with in terms of it. Cincinnati, we've talked about how woeful their defense is, and that you need this guy. You've paid your offense crazy money. The defense is going to be in a lot of trouble. How does this going to work out? Because, I mean, he's obviously, showing up. He wants to get the deal done, but it just seems like Cincinnati, like Dallas, their front office is not very good at communication and or getting this job done.
No, Cincy's always been, it's the kind of their MO. Everyone always makes fun of them. And now they're spending, I think, because Joe Burrow kind of handcuffed the owner, being like, you pay me, you pay my receivers, you pay, because he's like, what are you going to do? I'm Joe Burrow, kind of like, it's like, who else are you gonna get to play quarterback? So they kind of held him over one. So I think this is just more of he's like, I paid everyone, and to me it's just stupid. It's like your defense needs him. You spent all this money in the offense. This is your tiny little window. Tack on 2 years onto guaranteed money. Give him a raise and just move on. Like, I don't think they're going to give him 4 years for a 31-year-old. But dude has led the league in sacks last year, and led it over the last 2 years. What else do you want him to do? He's your only defender. Your team desperately needs him. Pay the man. Yeah, it's going to suck, and you probably can't do anything next year or the year after. But you got Joe Burrow and Chase and Higgins. You'll be fine. So just pay him. I don't understand. Just pay.
And especially in such a tough division you've got as well. And so it seems like, you'd want to get this done and dusted. And what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks? Like, you hoping that he's in a car accident or he gets hurt or something like that? Like, I don't understand what the possibility or what the potential is for these holdouts, because you do have, you've got teams now, they're in training camp. They're getting ready for the preseason. What does that do to the mojo of everyone when it's like, oh, he's still not paid? It just starts everyone bitching around about the ownership.
I mean, everyone's already knows about Cincinnati. It's an open secret of how bad their ownership is, and that they never really cared about winning. They wouldn't pay anyone. But it just, I just think he's just going to play. They're calling his bluff, and right now, like he just keeps backing down and playing. So I guess Joe Burrow's like, "Come on, man, play," and he's like, "All right, Joe." I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know because he feels like he's talking a big game, but he just keeps going back on his word. So I don't know. I'm surprised he's even in camp, to be honest with you.
I think I think it's a payment issue. I think that if he doesn't report to a camp, he doesn't get paid. And when you start looking at it, I think I was reading another interview with some player who was like, "Yeah, I held out." Then I realized me holding out was going to cost me, 150 grand. So I'm like,
Yeah.
why? Why? That's my kid's education right there. So I think the other interesting one to look at is then Terry McLaurin, with how Washington did last year, and he's 31, but has still put up some good numbers and has still been there for the quarterback. And you wonder, Washington as well, because Trump is like, well, you want a new stadium, you got to go back to your old name. That's not
Yeah.
my Trump impression. But McLaurin is an interesting holdout because it seems like they're almost like, well, screw you, because he's one of the ones who's like, trade me then, trade me. It's that drama thing. Trade me then. If you don't want me, just trade me.
It's a tricky one, right? Because nobody wants to pay 31-year-old receivers, right? We saw that with,
No.
Stephon Diggs. They could get injured, then it's over, and then you're just completely stuck.
Or
And
do Tucci
and
on a
and a
boat.
lot of time, and a lot of times, McLaurin had such a good year last year, and a lot of times they kind of drop off a cliff. And you already have on one side Debo, who kind of we witnessed that the last 2 years in a way that he's kind of fallen off, and having him be your only receiver when you have Jaden Daniels, who just went to the NFC Championship. It feels like, again, to me, it's like give him 2 years, add on, give him a raise. But I think he has to realize 31-year-old receivers just don't get paid 30 million a year anymore. DK Metcalf is 20, I think 29. So
Yeah.
they're paying them, then they get out. So I don't know. This one's a bit trickier because I just think it's not great business to give 31-year-olds 30, 35, 30 million a year. But he
Yeah.
also, Jaden Daniels is so good and looks so good that you didn't really draft anyone to replace him. It's not like,
Yeah.
do you trade him? Where if you trade him, are you going to get a receiver back that's going to be young, or are you going to get someone that you have to pay anyway? Like, so there was talk like it was Tyreek Hill for Terry McLaurin, straight up potentially.
Yeah.
Like, would you do that? Both teams want. Again, I don't both 31-year-olds, but then you're kind of stuck in the same thing. We're now going to pay Tyreek's salary. So
Yeah.
this one's a tricky one. I don't know what they're going to do. I think he just shows up and plays, and they're just like, play, because we're not going to trade you. So I think he plays and hopefully has a good year. But if hopefully he's just finger crossed doesn't get injured. It's like Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
It's like Jerry Maguire, the movie.
Yeah. Except he's not playing for the Cardinals. Let's go through though some of the top free remaining free agents. We'll start with Mr. Kissy, Christian Wilkins, who let go by the Raiders after a big contract. Kissing, then you see videos of him giving wet willies and grabbing people's butts and stuff like that. And you go, I mean, okay, that's a lot of money, but is this a reason not to sign the guy because he's a bit quirky?
He notoriously would grab Josh Allen's junk multiple times during games. There's like
Yeah.
footage of him doing it. And Josh Allen and him almost went at it one game because of it. So they kind of really kind of went at each other. Again, he's a weird one. I don't know. It's such a weird situation because no one really understands. They kissed a guy in the head, or it's just something.
Yeah.
No one really is talking about it. It feels like it's got to be worse than that. That you would lose that much for something stupid like that. Like, I
Yeah.
know. I knew the NFL was homophobic, but I didn't know it was that homophobic.
Yeah. Well, you just wonder if it's banter, like it's just laddie banter, or if he's doing it psychologically, that it's like, sort of prison rules where it's like, yeah, you're my bitch now,
it's
or
like,
something. I don't know.
He's like Jordan Poole, or in that slap ass in Key and Peele, where he's like slap ass. Just give me that ass,
Yeah.
slapping. He's just constantly. And he was like that, and it just made everyone uncomfortable. It's like a dick flicking everyone. Something.
I mean, that's sort of Trump's politics in a way. It's just sort of making everyone feel uncomfortable until they do what you want them to do.
Yeah.
I mean, someone's going to pick him up because, he's, again, good player. And, you wonder, the Raiders, how they're going to recoup some of the guarantees from this big money contract, all these kind of things. And, he's now getting back to full health. So you sort of wonder about that. The other one is another 31-year-old wide receiver in Amari Cooper. He's
I think he
left
retired. I
Buffalo.
think he retired. I think he announced
Is
his
he now officially
retirement.
retired?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it was just like yesterday or the day before. I think
Oh,
because
was it?
again, he was so bad of a of a pickup last year. He just looked washed, like completely looked slow. He always kind of
Yeah.
felt slow, but I think everyone just saw it, like especially when you saw like Hopkins at least had a bit of juice left in him in
Yeah.
Kansas City. Not even that much, but a little bit more. But Cooper just looked slow, and he was just not a guy who's ever going to get open anymore. So I'm not surprised no one's picked him up. And he's had a great career, considering it started a very up and down career, but a
Yeah. Okay.
solid career.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure. I haven't seen anything official that he's retired, but there's talk that Pittsburgh was looking at him. How about another one is cornerback Asante Samuel. Um, he was injured. He played for 4 games and then had a shoulder injury. But as a cornerback, pretty good player. And there are obviously medical concerns. He had neck surgery in April. He's only 26, though. Is this something that the guy's written
I
off,
mean,
or do you think that he'll
I
find a
don't
home for a
know. I
second
mean,
chance?
the for someone who's 26, it feel like the injury must be more serious than you're getting told, especially this late in the season. You can see like a 30-year-old, like a guy like Rasul Douglas who can skip training camp and come right in and probably be productive and understand because he's played so long. Someone at 26 needs the reps still, needs to kind of get on a team. I again, maybe he's just waiting until someone gets injured. It gives you a bit more leverage to make a bit more money because you're not just sign. Maybe he's just waiting for the right opportunity because again, people are going to go down. We're going to see injuries very very early. So it kind of if you've done enough, if you feel like practice, Allen Iverson, they're
Yeah.
just like I don't need practice. I'll make my money. So maybe it's a smart move, but hey, man, you're going to be rough and you're going to be behind. So I don't unless you're like some sort of genius savant of learning offenses and defenses. I don't think it's a great strategy. So it must be the injury.
It must be. I mean, you would think there's a lot of defensive teams that are, as we talked about the aforementioned Bengals, who would look at someone and go, "Yeah, actually, we need we need cornerbacks. We need someone in here to take some heat off of it." Another one is safety Justin Simmons. He was an All-Pro. He was every year on the All-Pro roster for 2021 to 2023. Didn't re-sign him. He goes to Atlanta for a year. Played well, but now he's 32. And so you wonder, is he too old? Are there teams that are like, yeah, we're not going to take a chance on this 32-year-old guy,
Yeah.
even though he was shut down. Um, you wonder what's
Yeah,
going to happen with
32, you
him.
become a bit more, especially safeties now, especially a lot of them playing too high that don't want to get beat deep. You got to still be able to run with the speed guys and run. So, I mean, 32-year-old, like I saw it personally with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, and they were so, all pro and so solid. And then the wheels came off and the angles were getting worse and they were getting beat to the
Mm-hmm.
outside all the time. And it just happens. Again, 32 safety, it's just unless you're legendary Ronnie Lott type guy,
Yeah,
Ed Reed, those types of guys playing Troy
yeah,
Polamalu playing in your 30s, unless you're that guy, just beast modes. But I just think again he'll probably get picked up late in the season with injuries. I think a lot of these guys, if you're now it's August, if you're not on a team, you're not planning on signing until you get the right
yeah,
situation. And he might want a championship, right? So he might be like,
yeah.
I'm not. He might have got offered, play with Tennessee or play with this. And he's like,
I'm not. Yeah, I want a ring.
yeah.
Another
So
one is a former Bill. He's only 26 years old. Gabe Davis, wide receiver. Played with Jacksonville. Wasn't that great. Tears his meniscus at the end of the season. But you wonder if someone like that. He's a number 3, I would say, wide receiver. Probably, maybe
I
number
mean,
2, depending on your team.
well, I think he
Um,
tried to be a two with Buffalo, and it didn't really work out. I think again, Gabe's just a guy. He's not going to get a lot of opportunity. I think people saw and like having Josh Allen kind of propped him up. I think he also lived off that Kansas City game where he got 4 touchdowns,
yeah,
and I think having that game on that stage of that type that caliber of football game kind of just everyone kind of bought into it for years. And they kind of even got him the money in Jacksonville, and they were one and done with him, being like, "No, we're gonna cut this
yeah.
guy." Again, I don't see again. He's coming off a knee injury late in the season. I think the knee's still going to be bugging him, so I don't see him signing until at least like mid-season. I'd say when teams start getting desperate.
Somebody gets desperate for wide receiver, you lose somebody. Another one is former Cardinal, and played for the Eagles and played for the Chargers. Kazir White, linebacker. This is a guy, big tackle. He had some sacks. He was a solid linebacker in Arizona for them. But you wonder, who's going to take a linebacker like that? I mean, you look at teams like the Bucks or maybe the Rams, who might be looking for someone to shore up their defense. But he's a pretty good. If you're looking for an experienced linebacker, this is a pretty good player.
Yeah, I just think the linebacker is it's the position it feels like it's been devalued the most on defense over the years. Like linebacker when we were growing up, you'd have Ray Lewis, that middle guy, Urlacher, those middle
Mm-hmm.
linebackers that would just be middle linebacker barely even exists anymore as a position. Like no one really cares. You got to be able to play the outsides and play nickel and be able to cover. And those big kind of bruising guys up the middle that stuff the run, those guys just kind of died off. And the linebacker money died off. So I just don't think people would rather almost put in another corner to kind of the way the
Mm-hmm.
passing games kind of opened up that you don't need as much linebackers anymore. So I'm not surprised that there's more linebackers kind of just sitting there waiting.
Yeah. I mean, then we talk about the edge rusher, Zadarius Smith. Also, he's 33. Played for the Browns, for the Lions. But you wonder if, because he's been before with the Vikings as well. At 33, is that too old for an edge rusher?
I mean, edge rushers can still have a bit of juice at that age. I think a guy like that, you just kind of maybe bring him in late in the season, just maybe playoffs. You want a guy who's got a bit of experience, has been able to get to the pass, and played in some big games. Guys like him and Clowney is the same. Clowney would
Mm-hmm.
maybe potentially bring those guys late in the season. Again, these guys are always, I think they've been doing it for years now, Zadarius Smith. And Clowney seems to do this every single year. He's like, all right, now I'll play for you. He's like the
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick of defense, basically, just from team to team to team to team.
Yeah.
And I think they just kind of wait around. They're old. They're not doing training camp. They're just like, to hell with that. I'll see you in
Yeah.
September.
My grandkids need a babysitter.
Yeah. So that's what I say.
Lastly, I'll talk about Stephon Gilmore. I mean, this is a Defensive Player of the Year in 2019, but he's 34 years old, and he'd probably be one of the oldest cornerbacks in the league. I mean,
Still good
he
though.
was
He's still pretty good.
2024
Yeah,
was with
for
Minnesota.
34.
He played 15 games. He was solid there.
Yeah.
So you wonder if someone looks at that and goes, "Hey, that's some pretty good experience right there. We should look at him."
I mean, I think it's just the age thing. But yeah, everywhere he's good, he's been solid. Like, he's just been one of those guys, professional. You bring him in, he knows how to play. Kind of like that Richard Sherman kind of could play till his
Yeah.
mid-30s almost, has a bit of that in him. And I just think he's just smart. And, guy won Defensive Player of the Year as a corner, which is hard to do. So I think, again, I wouldn't be surprised if a team like Kansas City, loses a guy like that. They want a kind of
Yeah.
just a smart adult in the room who's, and again, maybe he wants another shot at a ring. He's got a couple with New England, so I think he's fine. Or maybe he's just looking for money, one last payday.
Yeah, it
Who
could be.
knows? Who
Um,
knows?
we've got Keenan Allen, who's just re-signed with the
Oh yeah,
Chargers for a 1-year deal. Maybe that's just like the retirement, retire his jersey or
he
something
still
like
gets
that.
open. Like even with the Bears
Yeah,
last year, he had a couple games where
yeah,
it's like Keenan Allen 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, like the
yeah,
dude still finds it, and he just gets injured. He's lost a step, but he's so smart and
yeah.
knows how to use his body.
Solid
And
hands.
Herbert knows him. Herbert knows him. Again, they're a team that I just think needs receivers as many as if you can't just depend on Lab McConkey all year. So and Quentin Johnson
Yeah,
is always going to be like hands in the air. You lost Josh Palmer, so I think it's a
yeah,
smart move. Just he still gets
yeah.
open. That's all. Say what you want about Keenan. The dude gets open.
Um,
He gets on base. He gets
now
on base.
he gets on base. That's it. Gets on base. That's all you care about. We talk about Cleveland because they've got 4 quarterbacks in the running, and Shadir Sanders apparently was coming in third or fourth in this list. Um, but they've got him starting this weekend, I guess, to get the fans or keep Dion off his back. Dion has also just hired Marshall Falk as his running back coordinator at Colorado. But do you think this could go bad for him? It could go really well for him too. How do you think it is? What do you think of them starting
I
him
mean,
this year?
maybe they're doing it for maybe to trade bait him to maybe get him out there. Because again, I think if they're starting him, they have no intention of playing him because you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't put your starter in this type of dangerous situation. Like I think
Yeah.
they probably like what Gabriel does more. I think they've Flacco feels like he's been given the job, and I just don't believe that a 41-year-old Joe Flacco, he was terrible last year, that he's going to be better this year, and he's going to turn the. He had that like little run that was movie-like
Yeah, I did a little
run a
spurt.
couple years ago, that
Yeah.
they would make a movie about in the 90s, but it just feels like there's no way he's going to be able to do that again. It's going to be disaster in Cleveland. So, but at least Myles Garrett got paid. At least he's happy. And he'll be the
Yeah,
only
no,
one,
hey,
I think.
yeah,
And I
more
think Shadur's
he'll
being
have.
put out for trade bait, or just to kind of be, does he get cut after this? Because they signed Huntley as well. So they even brought in
Yeah.
Huntley as a fifth quarterback. So, I
Yeah, no,
mean,
exactly.
if you're starting the first preseason game, you're probably not the starting quarterback of the team.
No.
It's my opinion.
They're wondering, yeah, to your point, is this a guy we want to keep? Let's see what he actually looks like in a real game scenario. Maybe he's going to deke and dunk and do a whole bunch of things, and you're going to go, oh, actually, he's actually pretty good running. He does all this kind of stuff, some option stuff. Interesting to see, but I will be watching it all weekend. Well, I'll be flipping it on until it gets really boring. I was going to end last because we were talking about defenses, and obviously the Bears used to have a top 5 defense, and I said, who is a top 5 defense? And I told you I would give you mine, and then you can either give me yours or just
Yeah,
poo-poo the
you give
ones
me
I've
yours,
got.
and I will
So
bounce
my
off of
number
yours.
one of my top defenses going into 2025 are the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, fair. That's what I would have said. I mean,
Pretty
from
much
what you
just
saw in the Super Bowl, even though they did lose a couple of guys, Fangio, they're back, they're young. That's the thing about them. It's just they're so young. It's not like they're a bunch of old dudes. These guys are going to get better. Cooper DeJean, Carter. It's just they probably had another great draft. So yeah, I agree. I don't see why you bet against
them
them.
going into the playoffs. I mean, there were so many turnovers, and they were able to just force the ball. And then we talked about in that Super Bowl, it was just embarrassing for the Chiefs to just get choked out like that, like choke me, daddy. It was a fetish for a lot of people. My number 2 are the Denver Broncos. I think they were a very good defense last year. I think adding Dre Greenlaw, I mean, this defense kept them in. Their secondary with Surtain is just phenomenal. For the way they were able to keep it in, and the way that they've got a Hufnaga as well, I guess, this year too.
Yeah.
To me, they were just a solid defense, kept the team in it. So I've got them as my number 2.
I want to see them. Yeah, I can see that. I think a lot of people. I think they fed off a lot of bad quarterbacks last year, a lot of bad matchups. Because again, when it got into the playoffs and they played, like an offense like Buffalo, they gave up in the 30s. But I think that was more of an experience thing. But I do agree, they got it after the quarterback a lot. They just re-signed Allen to a big contract. He's their best player, and Surtain is the best corner in all of football. So, I mean, it's hard to argue about that. They got like stacks on stacks of solid players. So there's not many weaknesses on that team.
My number 3, I was tight with this one, but I ended up going because of them picking up Jair Alexander. I've gone with Baltimore, just because they are a very ferocious defense. Up on the front, in the secondary as well. I think they've added to it. Obviously we could talk about their running game and Lamar all we want, but to me that defense is just really tight. And I think they've made a few tweaks there as well. It just, the team itself just seems to have this sort of energy that the defense is scary when you're facing them, and able to keep some people into games. I mean, I think they're really shored up on that defense. I think it's gotten even better this year. So, I originally had them at 4. I've moved them up to 3.
I can't argue.
Yeah.
I think they're solid. Baltimore's always a solid defense.
My number 4 defense was close in this one, but I went with Houston Texans.
Yeah.
Now, Daniel Hunter, Derek Stingley, and it's just DeMarco Ryans. To me, he's one of those guys you're just like, damn it, he just schemes well. He's one of these guys that comes up with it, can have it going. Obviously, with Stroud and the way that they sort of fell down last year, it was difficult for them. But it just, to me, it's one of those teams that they can just be very feisty, very stingy. So I've got them as my number 4.
They're a scary defense. They can really stifle you and really make it hard on you. And if their offense kind of let them down last year because their defense played lights out. And Josh Allen had his worst game of his career against that team. He was like 9 of 30. They just really made him uncomfortable all day. So yeah, Hard to argue. I think again, especially in such a weak division, that they're going to be able to beat up on the teams within their division. Tennessee, Indianapolis,
Yeah,
Jacksonville. So I think they're because of also their schedule. The reason why Denver might be a bit harder is because I think everyone in the division is going to be tougher. Kansas
yeah,
City's still going to put up points, so the Raiders are going to be better with Geno. So I think
yeah.
Denver could be one that could the only one I could maybe disagree with, but there's still the
Okay.
rest are I agree with completely.
And my last one, my number 5 are sadly in my division, the Minnesota Vikings. And it comes down to Brian Flores. I mean, like
Yeah,
he is able to scheme and he is able to confuse quarterbacks. He is able to put things together. You're just like, damn it, man. And you can just see opposing quarterbacks as they all shift formation. It's like, what is going on here? It's like 3-card Monty. You don't know what the hell is going to come down the pipeline. So obviously Danielle Hunter used to play for them, but Flores to me is just he's a schemer. He's a
yeah,
schemer. He's able to put the schemes together, and he's able to confuse everyone that they play. So I've got them. So my top 5 are Eagles, Broncos, Ravens, Texans, and then the Vikings.
yeah. Listen, hard to argue. The only thing you always have teams like Kansas City is always going to be good.
Sure, of
They
course.
still have
Steelers, of course, are close.
Steelers are always kind
Detroit,
of one of them up there.
you know,
You're going to have Buffalo up there because of their division and how weak it is that they're going to be able to kind of
yeah,
pound on. They have a kind of an easy schedule and a lot of depth. So I could see them being, I don't think they'll be top 5, but I think they'll be top 10
top
this year,
10.
which
Yeah,
is a massive improvement because they were bad last year. So, but I think
yeah.
that's a great top 5.
And that's it for this week. NFL, Ryan's back. I'm back. We're going to watch some games this weekend, folks. We're going to be redoing our website. You'll see a lot more social media coming up. Of course, we'll be talking about the London games. So everyone, thanks a lot for listening and watching as well. As you see, we've got some new video. Make sure we'll have another podcast coming up very soon.